Something's Brewing, sponsored by Sacred Heart University. Learn the science of beer in Connecticut's first brewing certificate program.
Something's Brewing takes us to Bridgeport. New brewery alert, everyone. Berlinetta Brewing Company is coming soon. The family-run business is trying to simplify the beer scene to make easy drinking beers. Chris Ruggiero joining us now. He's one of the owners of Berlinetta Brewing Company. Nice to be here. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Courtney.
You're doing this with your brother, who we're
Yes.
going to talk to in a little bit. But obviously, you're still technically under construction.
Yes.
However, this space looks awesome. Why Bridgeport? Why did you decide to choose this location?
So I've lived in the Bridgeport area for a long time. Been a businessman here for a long time. Ran a recording studio just a few blocks from here for about 10 years. Worked with a lot of the best acts and artists in the area. Dion Kipping, Steve Kellogg, The Alternate Roots, Caravan of Thieves, just a lot of different people. You know, met a lot of people in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Rich and I decided to open a brew pub, you know, this is sort of, you know, where I know folks, and I live just a stone's throw from here in Stratford. And I really like Bridgeport. You know, my wife and I have lived here for about 15 years. We lived not far from here for quite some time, and it's a great place where, you know, where entrepreneurs can, you know, you're able to like take a risk on a new thing and try something different. Mm-hmm. You know, like a brew pub with a hi-fi listening room concept. I mean, something you maybe couldn't get away with in a lot of places, but we have this big, beautiful space, and yeah, it's an opportunity zone, you know.
Absolutely.
Literally.
So people can sip on a great tasting beer,
Yes.
and then listen to some great music too.
Yes.
So the best of both worlds.
Yes.
And the view is spectacular. I mean, you see the train here. You're going to get a lot of foot traffic.
I hope so, and I hope they're thirsty.
Yes, and you said too that you love brew pubs, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of, you're tying that into this as well?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've just, you know, in the last 5 years, it's sort of become clear to me that the brew pub or brewery tasting room, however you put it, is sort of become what, you know, what bars were to people 20, 30, 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's where people want to go after work on the weekend. They don't necessarily want to go to, you know, when we were younger, we would go to like dive bars. That was like the cool thing.
Uh-huh.
But it's now people like brew pubs. They want to have a, you know, a unique experience, something that's locally made, something that's specific to their community. You know, there's a lot to recommend this sort of business.
And now we're going to talk about the beer. Rich is joining us now, brewer, owner. Nice to be here. Thank you for having us.
So happy you're here.
This is so great. Let's talk about the Kolsch to start off.
Yeah, well, with all of our beers, for the most part, we're going for just kind of like easy drinking,
Yeah.
moderate ABV, beer that tastes like beer, pretty much. You know, classic European styles. There will be a couple like wild cards thrown in there, but my main love of beer and inspiration for beer comes from, I mean, really my wife, who's from the Czech Republic, and spending time there. It's a kind of different beer culture, and I really like that. You just sit down, drink a few beers, and talk. It's not like all about the beer, mm-hmm. and they're, you know, just quality, good tasting. I mean, in Czech, it's all Pilsner. That's pretty much what they do. But the Kolsch, that is a German ale, and some people describe it kind of as a hybrid because it is lagered, which all that means is it's stored at a cold temperature for a while. So the beer will get a little bit clearer, the flavors will mellow out a little bit, but it's fermented with an ale yeast and pretty much using the same ingredients, barley and hops-wise, as a Pilsner, but it's interesting when you try a Pilsner to the Kolsch, they taste so different because mm-hmm. the yeast does such dramatic things. The Kolsch is going to have a slightly fruitier flavor, whereas the Pilsner is like a very dry and crisp. So the contrast between the two is kind of nice. Mm-hmm. And they look very similar, but the flavor is definitely different.
So the Pilsner, you have a name yet?
Yes, this is our Velvet Pilsner. It's in this tank right now. Mm-hmm. It needs a couple more weeks. That is probably the beer that I'm most passionate and excited about, and it's kind of what beer means to me in a lot of ways, and it brings me back to the kind of like why I fell in love with beer in the Czech Republic. So this is a Czech style Pilsner, which is very close to a German Pilsner. But essentially, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here by any means with the Pilsner. It's not dry hopped. It's just a very clean, traditional Czech Pilsner. European barley, it's Weyermann Pilsner malt, which seems to be what all my favorite Pilsners I've had in America, they all use that, so I'm just gonna go with what they do, and it turns out great. Lager yeast, and you just give it enough time in the tank to really condition, and that's how you get that nice dry, the nice dry taste to it, the clean finish, is by just giving it enough time.
And next, your pale ale.
The pale ale is Golden Hill Pale because we're on Golden Hill Street here in Bridgeport. Currently, the only beer I have on tap. It is, again, like these other beer styles, a classic example. It's an American pale ale. Probably what I think a lot of brewers would say what got them into craft beer, I mean, depending on their age, there's a good chance it was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. It's like a good touch point for brewers. Fantastic beer. So this is just kind of my homage to that. It's an amber colored, crisp and dry American Pale Ale.
So I know we talked a little bit about the music. You're going to be selling records.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I want this to be a place where people can discover new music in a really natural way. You can find things that Pandora or Spotify or YouTube are not going to present to you. We have an extensive collection of vintage vinyl for sale, and the music is going to be presented in the space on this, with audiophile speakers and these esoteric amplifiers we've built ourselves, as much as possible. Just like the beer is something we make ourselves by hand. The
That's
sound
awesome.
system is as well.
That's
and
great.
Yeah, I want it to be, a very unique experience specific to this place.
And the big question is, when do you think you'll open?
So I think we're going to be open this spring.
Great.
We're very, very close. I think it's the middle of March right now.
Yes.
So I think probably in 6 weeks we'll be able
Perfect.
to sell you a beer.
All right, well, let's drink to that. Something's brewing here at Berlinetta Brewing Company in Bridgeport. Cheers.
Cheers.